Could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Miss Doherty. She's absent? Okay. Miss Faticante? Here. Mr. Leahy?
Here.
Mr. Leary?
Yes. Here.
Miss Martin?
Here.
Mr. McHugh?
Here.
Mayor Martin?
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
Your Honor, could
Yes.
I make a motion to suspend the rules in order to bring a item under the motions out of order? That would be item number 4, Your Honor.
Okay, motion to suspend the rules to entertain Ms. Faticante's motion now concerning Law Day. So moved by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The rules are suspended. On the motion, Ms. Faticante.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have Attorney Talty, who is here with us to talk to us about Law Day, which will be occurring later in the month. It's a very exciting program that Lowell High engages in with attorneys and judges and prosecutors and defense counsel throughout the community. And what I'd like to do, if possible, is ask Attorney Talty if he would come to the microphone and tell everybody what Law Day encompasses and just what a wonderful opportunity it is for our students.
Okay, we recognize Mr. Attorney Michael Talty, who is the president of the Greater Lowell Bar Association. Mr. Talty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, members of the committee, Deputy Superintendent Rorak. This is the 3rd year that I've been here to discuss Law Day, and on behalf of the Bar Association, I'd like to thank you for being involved with this very important program for the last few years. This does, as I'm sure you remember, we've discussed in prior years, the history of Law Day goes back some 50 years, where locally the Bar Association has been involved with a variety of events every year. But for the last 3 years, we've had basically the same program that we've been sponsoring. And we've been sponsoring that program in conjunction with the juvenile court. And Judge Patricia Flynn, who has been with me here the last 2 years, but unfortunately couldn't be here this evening, and she does send her regrets. The juvenile court has been a great partner with the Bar Association in promoting Law Day, which does involve activities for 8th graders in the city of Lowell, as well as high school students from Lowell and the surrounding communities. The twofold program involves an essay contest where the high school students participate in competitions in their own high school and write about a topic that's selected each year by the American Bar Association. This year's topic is the separation of powers, the 3 branches of government. Each high school involved has sponsored a competition whereby a student is selected from that high school and will be reading that essay and delivering it to the group of lawyers, judges, as well as their family, and hopefully all of you can attend. And that will be held on Friday, April 28th, a week from Friday, noontime at the juvenile court. The juvenile court is good enough to host this event, and we are having a luncheon at the court afterwards at 1 o'clock. Now, the students, there's about a half dozen students from local high schools, including Lowell High School. They will be delivering their essays, and a winner will be selected, and that winner will receive a $1,000 scholarship from the Lowell Bar Association. The second part of the program deals with the 8th grades throughout the city. We have about 50 lawyers, and each year the number is growing, who go to the particular middle schools and address 8th grade classrooms. We, I believe, have a lawyer and or a judge in each of the classrooms throughout the city for the most part. And they would be delivering a little bit of a talk on the topic for that particular year, but also fielding questions with regards to what it is to be involved in the legal profession in general, and I think that's where the students become a little bit more involved. So again, on behalf of the Bar Association and on behalf of Judge Flynn and the Juvenile Court, thank you for having me here tonight and for recognizing Law Day, and we hope that you'll be able to join us next Friday.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Talty. Question, Ms. Martin.
Actually, just a very brief comment. Having heard the presentation for several years now and always being extremely impressed by the quality of this program and what it offers for our students, I have to say I'm particularly struck by your choice of topic this year. This is a conversation that's going on across our nation right now, and I think it's really very exciting, the prospect of getting students to really think about topics like the separation of powers and what it really means for them and their nation. So I think it's a particularly well-chosen topic this year, and I know our students will be benefiting greatly, so we thank you for your very kind involvement.
Thank you, and I'd also like to note that the superintendent took a particular interest last year and was actually active, along with Mr. Rorak, in incorporating Law Day into the curriculum at Lowell High School. So we've met with the faculty at Lowell High School, and they've been very cooperative and willing to have it as part of their curriculum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further?
No,
Okay,
you're
on all those in favor of the motion by Ms. Faticante to recommend the Lowell Public Schools continue
I need someone to second it.
participate in Law Day activities. So moved by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, back to the regular order of the agenda. The first item is a special order of business, introduction of new principals. Mr. Robert Murphy of the Robinson Middle School. Mr. Rorak.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to, at this time, introduce Mr. Robert Murphy, who is currently the acting principal of the Starclosa School, and he has been recently selected to be the future principal of the Robinson School. Bob is a veteran Lowell Middle School and high school science teacher, a former mentor and varsity coach as well. He also served as an administrative intern at Lowell High School in the housemaster's position. He's also been a director of the summer school program at Lowell High School. He's a graduate of Springfield College. He earned a master's degree in instructional technology, and he's pursuing his doctoral degree. Bob possesses all the qualifications and skills that are required to be an effective administrator. Specifically, he has strong teaching skills. Knowledge of the ninth grade experience will lend itself beautifully with the eighth grade transition that takes place in the middle schools. He also has spent this past year doing a responsible job at the Starclosa School. His enthusiasm and optimism are two characteristics that I think will lead him far as the future principal of the Robinson School. It's my pleasure at this time to introduce Mr. Robert Murphy.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the Lowell School Committee, Deputy Superintendent Rorak, it's been with great pleasure that I've worked with all of you and the current faculty of the Catherine P. Starclosa Middle School this year to ensure the safe and smooth beginning of its service. I am delighted that Principal Jackie Travers has recovered and is able to take the helm back in the school once again. It is with great honor that I have accepted Dr. Baer's offer to assume the principalship of the Henry J. Robinson Middle School in July. I look forward to working with all of you in my new role, and especially look forward to working with the dedicated staff of the Robinson School. I thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. We wish you the best of luck and continued success in this very challenging assignment. Okay, the next item on the agenda. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to add, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Murphy for coming down here. And from what I've seen at the Starclosa School, he's done a great job. And we wish him all the best at his new endeavor at the Robinson School. Thank you.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes, if I could also just echo the same. I think he had a big challenge getting that building open and getting the move. He was involved with the moving and kind of juggling another school at the same time and getting all the kiddos involved and getting it open. I think it's been off to a great start out to Starclosa, and I think this is another big challenge for Mr. Murphy, and I look forward to hearing hopefully success, and sure we'll get a success out of this with our scores and the curriculum and everything else that needs to be done over there. And I'm looking forward to get some reports as he moves forward through that challenge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the April 5th meeting. Motion to approve the minutes by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under permission to enter, there are several items. Mr. Rorak.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 3 contracts to approve this evening. The first one is for Tom Snyder Productions Incorporated for $45,000. The purpose of this contract is to provide workshops, trainings to teachers, instructional specialists, reading teachers, special educators, and English language learner specialists that will focus on how to use the Thinking Reader software, a network-based reading program. Second contract, and that funding, by the way, is provided by the School Department FY06 budget and the Supported Reading Environment Technology Grant. The second contract is for NFI Massachusetts Incorporated for $10,928. The purpose of this is to amend the existing contract to provide for the out-of-district costs for 1 additional student enrolled in receiving services as outlined in their special education IEP. Funding is provided by the School Department FY06 budget and special education tuition account. The final contract is for Seven Hills Clinical Associates Incorporated for $211,244. The purpose of this contract is to provide for the out-of-district costs for 1 student enrolled in receiving services outlined in their special education IEP, and this will be funding provided by the School Department under the FY07 budget and a special education tuition account. I recommend the committee approve these contracts.
Okay, any questions or comments? Motion to approve
Motion to
the
approve, Your Honor.
contracts by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Ms. Doherty. Ms. Faticante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved. There's none. Happy to say it's none. There's none.
I don't believe there are any memorials, so we'll skip over that item, as well as unfinished business and public participation. We'll go to the motions. The first motion is by Mr. Leary. Request the Subcommittee on Personnel, Finance, and Special Education meet with the superintendent to conduct a complete review of the Student Services Department at the central office in order to develop a recommendation that achieves maximum efficiency, effectiveness, and if possible, cost savings. In addition, review the open position of Assistant Superintendent for Student Service before action is taken to fill it. Seconded by Mr. McHugh. Mr. Leary. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. 3 quick items here. The genesis of this motion, it was, I think, essentially the initial thought process I had was to simply say, let's not replace the Assistant Superintendent of Student and put it instead a director position in an effort to save money. In the initial genesis, it came down to we were having significant cuts in Title I. I think it's approximately $1 million. We're anticipating that our local school principals at this point are looking at their budgets. Also, the Chapter 70 funding, we weren't overly optimistic we were going to receive a large increase. I know our delegation's working very hard, and I know they'll be successful in bringing it up from a level funding to somewhat of an increase. We also had tremendous amount of fixed cost and health insurance, et cetera, that we needed to really think of a creative way of finding some finances. So the initial genesis was, okay, here's an opportunity, if you will, because we have a very successful individual replacing another very successful individual in the curriculum area. This might be an area where savings could be achieved. And there, as we know, in a tight budget, there's not a lot of areas where we really can cut. We're actually looking for funds. So that was the initial genesis. As I went through it, talking to a variety of folks, including the superintendent, my thought process started to evolve just from a standpoint of let's look at removing a position as to let's not fill the position. And then it further evolved to what you see today in the motion, which is really a broad overview of let's take the folks in the appropriate committees, which incidentally is all 6 of the school committee members. That's by some intelligent design and by some just where they should be. I think at this point, for us not to look at this position that's not filled, it would be not appropriate. I think at this point, my initial thoughts are probably still the same. We probably shouldn't fill the position. However, as I've gone through, as I've begun the process on my own, I realize this is very complex, and that the folks that are working within this department are working very hard and are being challenged by different mandates that most folks in the general public have no understanding of. So I want to say that I think this motion will give us additional time during the appropriate part of the year, during the budget time frame, to review it, as there's a position not filled. And I want to say, I don't know if kudos is the appropriate terminology, but I want to say I appreciate the hard work that is being done within this department at this point. When you're looking at something, when you're looking at a department, maximizing efficiency, looking for achieve savings, you're not taking a look and saying folks are not working hard or working successfully. You're saying that we have no choice because we really don't have a lot of money coming into us, that we need to look at every area. So that's really the evolution of my thought process, and I probably talked more than I thought I should at this point.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McHugh?
Yes, I will definitely support this motion. It's similar to what we've looked at in the past. I know a few years ago, when some of the other positions were available, we actually went through this exact process to look at the position and get more understanding about, is there a possible way to reorganize, is there a way to restructure the job, look at other opportunities, as Mr. Leary just stated. And in the past, I mean, now's the time to do it before you put someone into the position. This is the ripe opportunity, if that was ever to be the outcome, before you get someone involved and hired. I mean, my biggest feeling is you never want to lay anybody off. There's a cost to that as well, but there's a person there, there's a family, there's, someone that's looking for income and continuous employment, hopefully, at that point. So as these opportunities come forward, it's the right time to take a hard look, get a report, not rush it, bring it all back to the committee and let the committee make that decision at that point when we gather all the information. And the timing is exactly right. We're going into our budget session very soon, and we're going to be looking for any dollars we can find to just, I think, keep what we're doing and as a level funded budget type situation. So it's going to be, I think, a tough year, and we're going to have to really take hard looks at things, and this is one of the things we should take a look at. So with that, I will definitely support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Fattacante?
Thank you, Your Honor. I definitely cannot support this motion. It is not a complex issue for me. It is very simple. The one position in our school department that deals directly with children, and we're thinking of cutting the position. The one position that deals with student services, parent complaints, issues, health issues, crisis among our children, we would think of cutting that position. So it's not a complex issue for me. It's very simple. I would never think of cutting that one position. When I look at our administrative staff, I look at everybody has a very specific job. So who am I going to push this off to? Do I think so little about what this job encompasses that I think that somebody can do this job and their job? Do I think so little about what the position of student services means for the Lowell School Department that it doesn't matter to me that we don't have that position there? Or that somebody else can pick up the pieces? Absolutely unacceptable. We have one of the smallest administrative staffs around. If you look at other school committees, other school communities, they have a far larger administrative staff than we do. We're already very lean. Folks are already working too hard at their current job to assume another role. I can't ask, when I have a meeting and I watch Sue Duggan walk down the hallway at 10 o'clock at night, then I cannot ask her to take on another role, can I? When I see Jay Lang in his office at 8:30 at night, can I ask him to take on another role? Absolutely not, because we're already stretched too thin. So then where do we put the huge responsibility of this position? Don't ask for any more money either, okay? But where do we put this, where do we put the responsibility of this position? I think it lies exactly where it should lie, with the person who's in charge of student services. Here's my other concern. My other concern is that it opens the door to critics who say the school department budget is already too big, so why don't we just cut here and cut there without any consideration to the effect it has on our service providing. I don't want to go into the budget season with a series of cuts in my hand. I want to go into the budget season with my departments intact and my budget intact, and then sit down with my colleagues and not just make a willy-nilly decision that, oh, since the person is vacating the position to take another one, let's just do away with it. I can't do that. The position is too important to us. It's too important to what we say about what we do. It's the position that takes care of our children. And I'm not willing to ask these overburdened people to add that responsibility to their already overfilled plate. I just can't do it. And I'm not going to vote for this motion.
Mr. Leary?
No, and I appreciate my colleague's comments. I think what I initially said, is the initial genesis of the motion was to not fill the assistant superintendent position. And as I had primarily my conversations with the superintendent and other folks, my genesis, my thought process evolved to where I thought we should take a look at the whole entire picture. I certainly don't think too little of folks working hard. I know they all work hard. I hope I articulated clearly that I thought folks are working very hard and very successfully. Given the financial parameters that we're dealing with, I think that we need to take a look at it. Taking a look at something does not necessarily mean removing the position or not filling the position. So I do appreciate my colleague's comments, and I would agree that this position has fulfilled a very successful role. However, when we are going to be having to make other cuts in an area, this is an area we should certainly look at it. The students certainly deserve it. The administration certainly deserves it. So again, I appreciate the comments, but I wanted to ensure everyone that I don't think too little of any particular position within this area, and that my position did evolve initially. Thank you.
Mr. McHugh?
I couldn't agree more. I think that the timing's right. This is nothing more than like a study. How is everything working? What are our options? And the outcome of this could be, we need this position, we need to fund it as is. The other option could be, I'm just hypothetically could be, maybe we don't need an assistant superintendent, maybe we need a director. That's an option. I don't know. But I think we have to take a look at that, and our administration is going to be working on this. And I think if you look, and it says, if possible, cost savings. And the word, if possible, it may not be even an option. I think, this committee has to go through these possibilities of looking at what can we possibly do when an opportunity comes in front of us like this. I agree. The administration works very hard. I can't agree more than sitting in a meeting one night and I look up and you see some of the administrators walking down the hall at 8:30 at night going home. So yes, they are all working hard, and I recognize that. But we have to, I think, do our job here is to look at, make sure that this definitely needs to be filled as is before just saying, absolutely, let's just vote for it and move forward. I think this will just possibly slow it down for a little bit of time. And if the outcome is that the administration and the superintendent is going to bring back a report that says it must be filled, this is the rationale, the reasons why, everything else that this position does, this committee's still going to have to take that vote to then move forward. So it's still going to be a committee vote at that point versus not looking at a plan. Does it make sense or not make sense? You never know what could come out of this study. It may come out with another opportunity we're not even thinking of. So I think it's a worthwhile motion. I think it's something we should definitely take time and look at. Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much. I think that if nothing else, our conversation this evening shows how clearly we have an opportunity here to have some very, I think, spirited discussion. I think as I listened to my colleague, Ms. Faticanti, speak about the priority of students and specifically of the administrative services that we offer, whether it be our special ed students, a whole host of children who are in our charge who require additional support. I absolutely agree with her that it is a fundamental value of this committee, certainly, and of our school system. And I think that this area of service that we provide them with is something that is critically important. I do, however, also see the opportunity of this conversation really simply being a microcosm of our overall budget conversation. We go through this process every year where we line by line review every expenditure that this committee chooses to make and determine the relative value of those investments. So I think the opportunity to look at student support services as somewhat discrete and be able to really, I hope, have a spirited discussion about where our priorities are for this department, how we may want to make some innovative changes. I would be more than happy and welcome the opportunity to do that. But I do think that it is important that the message go forth that the services we provide our students and our commitment to having a high-level individual position that is exclusively focused on those services really is critically important to our role and to our mission as a committee and as a district. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Roll call on the motion?
Ms. Doherty? Ms. Fattacante?
No.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Larry?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent. Approved.
Okay, the next motion is by Mr. Leahy. Request the superintendent look into the feasibility of starting an apprentice program for professional staff.
I'll second this motion.
Second by Ms. Fattacante. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. I would ask that the superintendent look into this, and I don't know if I actually used the correct wording, but what I'm looking for is, do we have a formal program for anybody, teachers that want to move up to administrative positions? If we don't, maybe we should look into having a formal program where they can participate, and I think we do in part, but during the summers, they could take on administrative roles, maybe even fill in during the school year, but some sort of professional track. That way, the opportunities are there for everybody in the Lowell system to always better themselves, move ahead, and when they're done their course, if they like it, they like it. If they don't, then they stay whatever position they are. But it does afford us, we can hire from within. We're going to get a great group of people. They're from Lowell, they're in the system, and that way it's fair to everybody. And it's always better to promote from within, and I think we do try to do that when we can, but it never hurts to make sure that we're on track and we have a formal program. So that's the motion.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Fattacante.
Thank you, Your Honor. When I saw this motion that Mr. Leahy put on the agenda, I said, it's probably about time that we address this situation. I agree with the motion 100%. I think that when you come to work for the Lowell school system, you should recognize that you have opportunities to start off here as a teacher and work your way up to superintendent. George Sapasaris, for instance. Jim McMahon, for instance. Ted Rurak, for instance. I think that people in our school system no longer feel that they have those types of opportunities. And I think that when you come to work here in Lowell, it should be an understanding that we value the people who work for us, because you work harder than anybody else in any school system around. That's the bottom line, and that you should be able to expect someday, if it is within your liking, to move up the ranks. I mean, we technically run a big business. And people should be able to feel that they have an opportunity to work their way up the ranks. And I want to start to be able to dispel the rumor that you're considered a more highly valuable candidate if you have an out-of-town zip code, because it feels like that. It truly feels like that. And if it feels like that to me, and I'm not applying for this particular position, then imagine how it feels like for somebody who's been in the system for a long time and feels like they have no opportunity. Feels like they can't even submit a resume because it won't even be considered because they're, a local candidate. And I'm not saying that only local candidates are the best candidates, but I am in full agreement with Mr. Leahy when he says that we ought to give people an opportunity to develop their talents, to develop their skills, so that when positions do open up, we can look within our ranks and see who our best and our brightest are for the recognition of being moved up the ladder. And I think it's a very simple process to grow our own administrators, to grow our own lead teachers, to grow our own assistant superintendents. And that just really is very important for us as a school system. I think it's also extremely important for us for employee satisfaction, that people feel like they have an opportunity. And I think that we have to work very hard to show, this school committee has to work very hard to show the people who work and dedicate their lives day in and day out that we respect what they do and that we're going to make opportunities for them and that we're going to give them avenues to succeed. We're going to give them avenues to move up the ladder. And I really support this motion. It's probably about time that it was on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rorak?
I think we support this motion 100%. And just as a
I would
point of
hope so.
information and clarification for the members of the school committee, 5 years ago, the superintendent brought in 6 interns as apprentices in administrative positions. And unfortunately, due to budget constraints, we've had to reduce the number of apprentices to 1 per year. So I think we are looking forward to restoring many of these positions and giving the opportunity to our teachers to get some administrative experience during the course of the year.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes, I would agree that we need to, bring this program back to light, because, just looking at, just to dispel some of the rumors, Robert Murphy, you looked at his resume that he provided us tonight. He's been with us since 1983, started as a middle school teacher. He's actually held other positions as an acting A-house master at Lowell High School. He served as an administrative intern at Lowell High School, so he was part of that program as well. And then he went on to the acting principal of the Catherine Stocklosa School, and now he's finally getting a principal job that's going to be his own. And I'm sure he's here tonight, and it's going to be a proud day for him to say, that's mine, and now it's his school. He's going to feel like he's got a place that he can settle down and really try to make a big difference. So it does happen, and I believe we had the assistant principal over at the McAvenue School here last week. I think it's Miss Kelly Clow. She's the same type of person that got the assistant position and has now moved on. So I think we do that. I think there is this rumor out there we do not hire from within. It's something I believe in. I know we had a program. I'm hoping that we can continue to keep that back on track and get it out there, because we definitely have people that know the system and want to encourage them to move up, because the learning curve is so much easier at that point. They understand how our curriculum is working and what they need to do. So I would, with that, definitely support this motion and look for this process to be a more formal. I think that what Mr. Leahy said, I'd like to see it as more of a formal process with the possibility of some classes or summer work where they could earn PDPs or something that would be professional development points might be a way to attract more people to get involved, because I know there are people out there that are interested, but they don't mind doing the time. But if there's some way to get some professional development points that helps towards their certifications as well, that's another way to make this work as well. So maybe we could have that part of that motion too, as part of that report that comes back to look at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Next motion is by Ms. Faticante to rededicate the James S. Daly Middle School on April 25th, 2006 as part of the 50th anniversary, seconded by Mr. Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Faticante.
I was contacted by Mehmet Ali of the Moken Cultural Center, and he thought it might be a good idea for us to rededicate the Daly School. There will be members of the James Daly family who will be at the rededication. Some of the Daly School students will be taking part in the rededication. And it's just, it's a nice way to recommit the family to the school building and sort of reconnect the kids to who James Daly is. And I thought it was just a wonderful opportunity. It was a great suggestion that he had, and I was made aware that it needed to come before the school committee for proper approval, and that's exactly what I'm doing today. So let me tell you that it will be taking place Tuesday, April 25th at 12 noon at the Daly School, the 50th anniversary rededication at 150 Fleming Street. Now, let me just say, Mr. Daly was a star athlete who was captain of Lowell High School baseball and track team, broke the world's record in the 50-yard dash, worked as an educator, and served on this august body known as the Lowell School Committee. Thank you.
Okay. Look forward to seeing everybody at the event. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Under subcommittee reports, we have a report on the athletic subcommittee from Mr. McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Tuesday, April 11th at 7 o'clock, the Lowell Subcommittee on Athletics met. Present was myself along with Ms. Regina Faticani. From the administration was Ted Rorak, Deputy Superintendent, William Samaras, Lowell High School Headmaster, and Brian Martin, Director of Physical Education, Health, and Athletics. We actually had a very busy agenda. This was kind of a second meeting as a follow-up to our original meeting we had probably a month prior, where we put out some tasks to follow up on. So this was more of a follow-up on that original report. There were 9 different items we reviewed that night. We were looking for a report on restoring the assistant coaching positions. As you recall, we just briefly talked about a few budget cycles back, and I'll never forget it. I looked at Timmy Golden's face, and we actually were cutting positions, and we were cutting coaching positions, and he had this horror look on his face, because I know it was near and dear to his heart, and I think it's time we start to look at that. We're not recommending to put everything back. I think it's something we wanted to start looked at. Where is the big participation in sports? Where are the kids trying out for the most of, and where do they really need it? So on that first item, we talked and we went through all the different sports. We got a report on how many students were in each sport for the fall, winter, and the spring to get an idea of what's going on. And the recommendation is to restore, if possible, if funding's available, I guess, and that's the way we're phrasing this, if funding is available. So we'll look at this at the budget time. The fresh assistant coach for girls soccer teams and the freshman boys team for soccer to be restored. And for the winter sports, a recommendation that the assistant coach for hockey be restored, and a restoration of several positions was recommended for spring sports, including baseball, softball, boys and girls lacrosse, and a part-time crew position. Currently, we have over 100 students that are involved in crew. We have one person that's running that. You tell me how one person can handle 100 students. I mean, that's organized chaos at the best. So lacrosse is the second largest sport right now. Lacrosse is growing in numbers. It's the new sport where kids are, boys and girls are gravitating to it. They're enjoying it. So that's the recommendation. I believe the total cost of these restorations is just a hair under $20,000. So when we get to the budget, I will be hopefully bringing this back forward to the committee to look at these positions. So it's not a lot of money. I'm hoping we could find $20,000, but this would just be a start at putting some positions back through the restoration of positions. So with that, there was a recommendation by Ms. Faticani, seconded by myself, to restore the assistant coaching positions recommended by the athletic director, provided funding is available, and that was voted 2-0. So I don't know if we need to really take a vote on it. That we can maybe hold to the end to do a report of progress if you want, because that's not necessarily anything we have to do at this point, because it would come back at the budget cycle. Mr. Mayor.
Why don't we just take the report as a whole, and unless we hear that there are objections from others.
Okay. Also, the second item was another position that was eliminated a number of years ago. It was maintaining the school athletic records, and there was an individual that actually approached me that was talking about this position. It was someone that would take all the game scores and everything else and compile it and make an actual book to kind of keep the records for history, and which is good, because I mean, last meeting we sat here with Courtney Shimmeron, and someone had to compile how many points she got, so that has to be done. So there was a position. This position costs $1,500 a year to reinstate, $500 per season. So there's the fall, winter, and the spring season, and that was actually recommended to put that back into the budget as well for the fall season next year. There was a motion by Ms. Faticani, seconded by myself, to restore the line item for the statistician for the FY07 budget, and that was accepted 2-0. The third item was something televising athletic events. This is something I noticed over the winter, that we haven't done a lot of. We have a great television studio, and we haven't really done a lot of. I saw a few Lowell High games, and that's really about it. And what piqued my interest was over the winter holiday. I happened to see a wrestling match on Channel 22, but it wasn't a Lowell High. It was Greater Lowell versus one of the other communities, and it was on our cable channel, which is great. I think there are people out there that like to see their grandchild or their son or daughter in a sporting event, which is wonderful. And we have this television studio, we can put these things out. So I was trying to get some activity back to see what we could do for next fall, because now's the time to start planning. So they started to look at the headmaster, started to work with Mr. Pinard and look at the what they can possibly start to come up with as far as events. They're looking at, do they need to provide stipends or hire part-time staff? I mean, it's my personal goal to try to utilize the students as much as possible, but understanding some of these things do happen at night and they're not around, so there could potentially be some cost. As well as one of the options was assign projects as homework assignments for students as well. So it's a way that, as part of their coursework, they could, do this event as a homework study and produce it and go back into the class and then do the editing in class, but do the raw filming of it during the event. Mr. Smash stated that he would continue this discussion. This is more of a report of progress. On this, it's a work, and we're going to continue to follow up. We'll probably have one more meeting before the end of the school, see where they're at, and then hopefully at the beginning of September have some action items as well to move forward on this. The fourth item was the policy requirements for physical education instruction credit for physical education student athletes. So in other words, that a student athlete would get physical education credit for phys ed if they were involved in the sport. There was came out of Ms. Faticani, and I think there was an issue with the time that we're having in getting the students, especially to away games, where we delayed a start of Lowell High School this past year. It's now caused some early dismissals, I think, to put it as easy as possible, and obviously that's not always in the best interest of the students to be dismissed so they can get out to the stadium, to get the bus, to get away to an away game. And in the fall, it became a bigger issue with the daylight savings kicking in that triggers the time. At this point, however, there's a law that states that we cannot do that. You cannot give or credit for a student athlete to participate and count it towards their phys ed requirements. So unfortunately, that won't be able to move forward on that idea. The sixth item, the number of students participating in athletic programs by sport. This is kind of what I talked about previously, but this was actually very important information as we started to look at, possible restoring of coaching positions, because this is, to me, what is driving that process. Where are the students? What sports are they trying out for? Where is the activity? Because if you have a sport where there's no longer a lot of activity of students trying out for, maybe we should even look to reallocate those funds to something else. So that was the whole idea. We received some information. It's my understanding we requested a little bit more. We'll get some more as we move forward, and we'll discuss that at a later time. The seventh item was the impact on dismissal time. As I previously stated, the dismissal time, it's still possible we were looking at before we start next year, should we look at moving backwards to the old time? Because there's this program where they have information given out for the first 15, 20 minutes, which is more of a home room, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. And they're giving out information to students. Then the students actually then move to their first period. And what we found is, when I was doing another motion on the tardiness report, that actually we saw an increase in tardiness this year, because what's happening is they're not going to that initial 15, 20 minutes. They're going right to their home room, their first period class, and coming in later. So it kind of had a little bit of a backfiring effect. The administration is working on it, and we'll be getting another report on that topic, but that's where this came from, and this would also help out allowing the students 15, 20 minutes earlier to get out. At this time, no action is being taken, but it's something we're going to continue to talk about, and we're going to hold until such time that we received that other report, and we can bring that back and have another look at it. But time is getting tough because obviously the student handbooks need to be printed pretty soon for next year, so we would have to establish that if we were going to even think of moving that time back. The 8th item was space for the boys gymnastic team. Currently, right now, they actually the last group to use the high school, and it's just become very encumbersome of having to set the equipment up and then take it back down on a regular basis, and they're the last group to utilize it. So we're looking at the feasibility of, are there other spaces of sites to rent? I know we rent for ice hockey time under the athletic budget to have their own place to go. Actually, one of the thoughts is, as we continue to renovate the existing schools, that might be one of those buildings would be their home where they could go and have their equipment set up somewhat on a permanent basis, so they don't have to keep taking it down, putting it up, taking it down, putting it up, because this is a growing sport. We have actually one child who I think is in the top 10 in the state in gymnastics that's enrolled at Lowell High School, and he'll be a contender next year for the state as an individual all-around student for that. So it's something we want to encourage and look at. We don't have a recommendation at this point. There are 2 sites that have been identified, and there will be some more site visits and some discussions about that, and that will come back to this subcommittee for a review and a recommendation. So at that meeting, there was a recommendation from Ms. Faticani, seconded by myself, to recommend the high school administration begin the process of securing a location for the boys' gymnastic team for the next year. So that's kind of a report on progress on that item. I will get back with further. The last item was probably the most important one that was coming up, was the Bellegarde Boathouse update. At this point, Brian Martin gave us an update that there's been a coordinated effort by the city, the university, and in UMass and the State Department of Conservation and Recreation to work on a solution and work collaboratively to next week so the crew should be able to use the boathouse. I believe they are at this point. They have access. They were putting a plan together to make some minor adjustments to allow access through this spring and through next fall, and then hopefully do the formal renovations at that point that would take us to next spring, so it would be open the way it should be open. So the state delegation is involved in this as well. Our senator and state reps are involved with the university, and everyone's trying to work together to get this open. And maybe Mr. Rorak could give us an update that this has been done. I'm not sure if they're in the building, but maybe you can give me an update on that.
The information we received is that the students are being able to use the boathouse this week. And I think there was an article in the Sun in regard to that as well.
Okay.
May I?
Ms.
I
Federicanti.
did receive a phone call regarding the docks have not yet been placed in the water. And we're asking kids to go into the water where the ducks kind of hang and people fish. And am I drawing a good picture here? And it's dangerous. It's simply dangerous. And the docks are sitting right there. They have not yet been placed in the water. And of course, we can't do that as a school department. We have to rely on somebody else to do that. So, and I'm not sure who that somebody else is. So through you, Your Honor, to the deputy, we need to figure out if it's you, Lowell, or if it's the state, but somebody needs to get our docks in the water before the kids, maybe AD Martin will know. Sorry to force him on this. I'm sorry, AD Martin. We were talking about the athletic report, and I had a young man call me and say that the docks weren't yet in the water. And of course, they're walking where people are fishing and where there are ducks swimming, and guano is there, and for alligators and tigers and bears, and you got it. But it's dangerous.
Mr. Martin, do you have any current information on the status of the docks?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I'm Brian Martin, 178 Blue Street. Actually, I apologize. I took my grandchildren for ice cream, and I thought I'd be here at 7:15. So.
Yeah, you're kidding, right?
Yeah. In any event, The whole boathouse issue has been very difficult for the team this year, and the parents have been communicating with everyone and been very supportive. Obviously, we have over 100 students participating. We did have a crisis a few weeks ago, and we had a meeting with DCR, the state agency that manages the facility. I think it's Conservation and Recreation, DCR, and they actually were prepared to close the boathouse indefinitely. Senator Pangiatakis was there with Representative Golden, myself, many people from the city departments as well as the university. And they agreed to let us do an evaluation of the building between the staffs of the university and the city, which produced a committee which will actually meet again tomorrow at 1:30 at the boathouse. A lot of work has actually taken place between the city and the university, fixing the bathrooms, repairing the decks, and things like that. So we're optimistic at some point that they will reopen the boathouse, so everyone will have access to the bathrooms and locker rooms and things. The docks are a different story. The docks are owned by the university. They actually contract with the doctor, I think is the name of the company, that services docks, and they bring scuba people in to put them in the water. And when they went to put the docks in, some of them were in disrepair, and the company wouldn't install them. So we actually have a difficult time getting in and out of the boats. I've spent the last few days getting bids and quotes from different companies, and actually did get one this afternoon that is within reason, so that we may be able to come to some agreement within the university and the state to perhaps get something going right away. But it's been very difficult on the team. I mean, they just got a new boat, and they were at Phillips Andover in a race on Saturday that I was there. I mean, they have a lot of great kids. So we've got to come to some conclusion here to keep the facility open, but also make it safe. So that these student athletes and the staff have, a first-class facility. I think that will happen. I just think we're at crunch time right now between the state really not wanting to keep that building open because of all of their facilities and their inventory around this Commonwealth, and the fact that the university really doesn't have a crew team competing in your Division II or Division III athletic competition. It's a club team now, so it's a very different status. It's not really a budgeted item. It's more volunteers, and so we kind of get caught in the flow. I'd love to see the university or the city actually acquire the boathouse, take the whole thing over, and if that were to happen, you would never have another problem again. But in any event, I'm on it, and we'll be there tomorrow, and I can send a report through the superintendent's office to everyone, and I'm optimistic something will work out. But we do have a problem with the docks, and depending on how much it costs and how to work through that, I'll get back to you on. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that, and I probably would have said this if Mr. Martin wasn't here either, but his energy and his commitment to the high school since he's been on board with us is incredible. And just from dealing with him over the last year, really want to say thank you to his commitment to the students at the high school. He's really jumping in to every situation. He takes control of it. He goes the extra mile, and we really appreciate it. And especially sitting in on some of these subcommittee meetings. I mean, he's really putting 110% into this, along with the committee, athletic committee. So I just think we should say thank you to Mr. Martin, and he's doing a great job for us. Thank you.
Okay, anything further on the subcommittee report?
That's a report of progress.
Okay, motion to accept the subcommittee report as a report of progress by Mr. McHugh, seconded by Ms. Faticante. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is adopted. Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. All right, next item is reports of the superintendent. First, the federal mandate for district wellness policy. Mr. Rurak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before you have a report from the superintendent as a follow-up and status report on a motion that was made by Mr. McHugh at the last school committee meeting, which was a follow-up also of motion that was made by Ms. Doherty at a previous meeting in January. Before you have the members of the committee that will be developing the report on wellness, and the members of the committee are a comprehensive group of individuals from a variety of departments. Most notably, Mr. Lang will be spearheading the committee. There will be a meeting in May. In addition to Mr. Lang, there will be officers from the Citywide Parent Council. There'll be a member from the School of Health and Environment from UMass Lowell. In addition, we will have our curriculum coordinator that deals with the health curriculum in the Lowell Public Schools. We will have the food service director from the Lowell Public Schools. We will also have the student activities coordinator from Lowell High School. We will have student representatives that are members of the Student Advisory Committee at Lowell High School. The Director of Athletics will be also a member, and that will be a committee that hopefully will submit a report to the full school committee by June, or sometime in June, I should say.
Okay, thank you. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next item is the FY 2005 audit report. Mr. Rorak.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a report that was prepared by Assistant Superintendent Jay Lang. The attached report is a report on applying agreed upon procedures over compliance applicable to Massachusetts school districts' end-of-the-year pupil and financial report. An earlier draft report was provided to the Finance Subcommittee, and I recommend that this report be accepted by the full school committee.
Okay, motion to accept the report by Mr. Leary, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next item is State Department of Education Content Institutes matter. Mr. Rorak.
Thank you, Your Honor. This report identifies state content institutes that will take place throughout the state of Massachusetts. This is the 11th year of the partnership that exists between the Department of Education, colleges, universities, school districts, and cultural institutions. And we're pleased to announce that Lowell will be the host for 2 of these summer institutes. The first one will be on linear equations and their foundations, which will be appropriate for our middle school teachers of mathematics. And the second one will be on the impacts of science, technology, and engineering and industrial revolution, which will take place at the Songus Industrial History Center. And we'd like to thank Joyce Tapper-Benner, our Professional Development Coordinator, and Peter O'Connell, the Director of the Songus Industrial History Center, for putting forth the content relating these 2 courses. And we're excited as far as some of the teachers in the city of Lowell that are already participating. The maximum number of teachers that can participate is 25, and at this time we already have 18 teachers from Lowell participating in one of the courses. So we're very excited about this partnership that we have with the Department of Education and the other institutions.
Okay, motion to accept the report as a
Move
report of
approval, Your Honor.
progress by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next item are the Lowell High School spring sports schedule. Mr. Rorak.
Thank you. Mr. Martin provided for us the Lowell High School spring sports schedule and a calendar of all the events that are taking place this spring, and I move approval of this report.
Move approval.
So moved by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The report is accepted. And then finally, we have a report on the rededication of the Daly Middle School. I
Already been
believe
done?
that's already been discussed and approved, so no need to take that up. There are several items under new business. First is a request to authorize implementation of a new student information management system. Mr. Rorak.
Thank you, Your Honor. At the last Subcommittee on Technology, we recommended to the members of the committee that we move forward with a new student information management system. At that particular time, some of the members requested additional information regarding the financial aspects relating to this change, as well as an implementation plan. Therefore, before you, you have a report that identifies the cost factors for the 3 primary providers, which were Power School Management Information Group and X2. And Mr. Lang provided an overview as far as the cost for the companies over a 5-year period of time. And also, Mr. Schlipman provided for us an implementation plan that would begin as soon as a contract is signed with the different providers, whether it be the administrators, the clerks, guidance counselors, and other users. And the plan takes place over this spring, the summer, and into next fall. I recommend that we move forward with the recommendation of X2 to be our student information management system for the future.
Okay, what's the wish of the committee? Ms. Martin.
I'd make a motion to accept the proposal and move forward with X2.
Okay, motion to approve by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. McHugh. Any questions? Mr. McHugh.
Thank you. Just for the public to know, the technology, we spent a long time going through this, and I just want to let people know that this isn't just something we're just kind of going through. I think as part of what we realize is the system we're currently using is there are issues involved, and I think these have been coming out over the year about tracking students as they, go from one building to another. Sometimes it's not, the current system has issues with that, as well if they're special education students and their IEP plans might not be part of this or linked to this, so it's like all these different databases are being used for student records and information. This is a way to combine it into one. Also, I think I do have a question. I know at the last meeting, we went over each one of these proposals in depth, and I think we were looking for some, and I think there's also an additional cost as part of this cost per year, the second cost. The first cost is really just to convert the system, purchase the software, and then the second year is like a cost per student, I believe, is what we were talking about at the last meeting. And I think one of the questions we asked is, would they hold that cost over? Because, our concern would be, would they now start, once they get us to purchase this, start to escalate that cost over years so they can kind of make it up down the road? Because once you go this route, you're not going to be changing this software every 2 to 3 years.
If I may refer that to Mr. Lang. I know Mr. Lang was in conversation with the company this afternoon.
Yes, thank you. Part of the cost with X2, they had a different pricing structure than some of the other packages. The other packages had a higher front year cost. We actually purchased the software. X2's cost was more tied to actual the October 1 pupil head count, and then it was more of a service fee you paid each year for use of their software. And the concern is obviously in year 2 with that program, 2 through 5 as you're implementing, if the fee went up per pupil much greater than it was in year 1, obviously the X2 costs would grow. But in recent talks with them, and we have been having ongoing negotiations, they do not foresee their per pupil costs going up, so that would be a relatively fixed cost, and they're at least willing to agree to that in a contract so that it would remain consistent for a minimum of 3 years. So their per pupil cost, at least for the first 3 years, would remain the same. However, they did say it hasn't changed in the last 3 years, and they don't foresee doing that in the future, but they would, in writing in the contract, actually stipulate to the maintaining that per pupil fee for a minimum of an additional 3 years.
Okay, thank you. So that's a good. We're very happy to hear that they're actually going to give us a 3-year cost on that per pupil cost, because that would stabilize it so as we move forward with this system, if the vote of the committee does so. I think, I'd like to again applaud the effort of the administration. I mean, there was a committee set up that actually went through this and looked at all the different softwares, looked at our system and compared it to our system and got through it. So you had people such as Norma Audi, the coordinator of student support services, Ben Dooling, the student database administrator, Linda Gavro, administrative assistant for special education, since we want to make sure they're involved with this as well. David Gray, a database consultant, Roxanne Howe, instructional specialist at Lowell High School, Shelley McGrade, system-wide database administrator, and Ted Rorak also sat in this committee. I want to thank them all for going through this, because at that technology we went through, I think we spent well over an hour on this one topic and went through it very thoroughly and just asked for this final figures. So I definitely will support this. I think timing's perfect to move forward with this, because we will be doing the conversion over the summer, and you'll have all the student records all set for next fall. Thank you.
Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Lang, want to thank you for your initiative on this. The X2 system, you said that they basically guaranteed the price for 3 years?
Yeah, the fee structure on the X2 system is it's pretty consistent year to year. It's based on a per pupil fee. They take the October 1st student enrollment count, which is on file with the DOE, so that there's no concerns year to year how that will fluctuate. But they take the October 1st count times the per pupil fee, which is currently $8 a head. And that's the fee you pay for service. Anything you want in additional trainings, customizations of the software, things like that are additional. With some of the other packages, the concern was that you paid a greater fee in year one, but their per pupil might have been, say, $2 or $3 per student in subsequent years. So in years 2 through 5, it was less. But you don't have to upfront the major fee like you do with, say, a power school with the X2 product in the first year. So I done just a comparison based on those two products, and it actually works out. The break-even point was in year 6 of implementation. That X2 would then start costing you more money than Power School would to maintain at that point. But what they've agreed to do is keep that $8 per pupil based on the October 1 head count for a minimum of additional 3 years. So at least they won't go to 10 or 12 or 14, and then our costs would really start to rise out of our control.
Okay. Did they give you an average maybe of what the increase might be? Has it gone up in the last few years?
No, they've stayed $8. They've actually been at $8 for the last 3 years, and they really didn't see any reason to move it. What they've been doing is they add additional modules or additional packages. They do that as an add-on to the software. So if some districts want it, and like they have a personnel management module, they may have a finance module come on board. If you do, it's all based on your per pupil count, but you might have to pay an extra $2 or $3 per head to purchase that particular module. But we wouldn't be changing our financial package or anything like that. So we would just be looking at the $8 per head for the student information management system portion of their software. And that would be consistent again for at least another 3 years. However, they didn't think that that would vary, in the future at all, that as new modules came on board, that's where you'd see a fluctuation in cost.
Okay. I mean, I did some quick math, and it's in the middle, basically. It's a good program. Everybody seemed to like it. I just was curious. You don't foresee any surprises down the road. There's nothing that we haven't, that could jump up, right? I mean, I really don't know too much about this. You're the expert, so
I'm feeling pretty good for the next 3 years.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Leary.
Just a quick question to Mr. Lang. The other products, the Power School and the Management Information Group, the second-year cost, there's no, if we were to select these two products, the cost, we're not guaranteed that these prices wouldn't increase in the next 3 years.
No, that's correct.
So, for example, you're saying would be basically the cost would be, for to direct words, but after the second year would be basically level compared to the other two products. In essence, in reality, that might not be the case. It might actually be less expensive.
Correct. What I did just for the simulation is I just assumed year one cost per pupil across the board for all three. I didn't entertain discussion with the other two because we weren't going in that direction to try to commit them to a multi-year contract. I only worked with X2 on that because that was the recommendation.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leahy? Roll call, please.
I already had it by Martin and McHugh.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
It was already moved and seconded, so roll call.
Ms. Doherty, she's absent. Ms. Fattacante,
Yes.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Okay, the next item concerns an additional assistant principal at the Robinson School. Mr. Rorak.
Thank you, Your Honor. We are requesting approval of the school committee to authorize the implementation of, to add a second assistant principal to the Robinson School. Presently, we are forecasting over 24 teachers that are either in their first, second, or third year, which will require a significant amount of time for the administration to properly evaluate and supervise those teachers to make sure good instructional practices take place and effective teaching and learning takes place for our students as well. The other part is that our major concern is also as far as the CPI and AYP status of the Robinson School. It's one of our lowest performing schools in relationship to the performance index dictated by the Mass Department of Ed. And the action that we took with the EQA visit was the fact that we wanted to make sure that we treat our underperforming schools as schools in need of improvement with the degree of support from the district. As much as we can afford to. So we are recommending a second position be added as far as the assistant principal's role to the Robinson School.
Mr. Leahy? I'm sorry, Mr. Leary.
Either way. Assistant Superintendent, just a quick question. We're not adding a position, we're actually removing it from another school that has 2 assistant principals, is that correct?
Well, our first goal would be to add a position and then to review the need for the other position. Presently, there's only one other school that has 2 assistant principals. That's the Daly School. But our first recommendation would be to, if we could separate the discussion by adding or recommending that we add this position to the Robinson School, and then I'm sure the members of the committee could review whether or not that particular position would be required at the Daly School in the future.
I guess, and I really support it because I know we're under the challenge at the Robinson School at this point in time, but I really want to emphasize that, put emphasis on, I don't know if we have enough money to create positions at this point, so I'm going to support it at this time. I don't know what the process is in terms of filling it with an actual human being, and I'm not, is that actually, you're going to have to put it out to...
That is exactly what we want to do, is be able to post a position and advertise for the position, and then move forward. And then when the budget time comes to review the other position on on the basis determined by the committee members.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. Through you to Deputy Superintendent. I like this request, and I think it's absolutely necessary for the Robinson School. I know that it's crunch time with this year's budget, but I feel that we've got to give this school and the new principal all the support that he needs for that school. I know some of us might be apprehensive, but we really need to take a good look at the Robinson School. We're going to change. We're getting a new principal this year. Just the other day when we had the dedication for the library for Mr. McMahon at the Stocklosa School, a few of the speakers all went to the Robinson School. I believe Mr. Cox said he was there, our city manager, Mr. Golden, our state representative. So I think we owe it to that school, to that neighborhood, to really get these kids back on track up there, and to really give the administration, the teachers, and the students what they deserve. And I think we really can't afford not to do this year. So hopefully we will find the funds for this position. I have all the faith in our state delegation this year to give us some extra funds. And I support this wholeheartedly, and I think that the kids over there deserve this, and we really need to put that extra effort into this school. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Thank you. I can't say strongly enough how critical I think it is that we need to make a serious and a considerate investment in the Robinson. We all recognize that the challenges that our new principal will be facing moving into that position, and I think this is an opportunity to provide a school with some additional resources. I think in recognizing the challenges that the demographics pose for educators at the Robinson, we need to recognize that, and I think, again, this is a wise investment in trying to create solutions that I think we would be able to use at all of our school sites across the city. We are, we're certainly a city where our performance and the accountability measures that we're held up against are things that we take very seriously, and that we recognize the critical importance that our students need to be performing at higher levels. And this is one way that we make that investment known. And I really, what I find most encouraging and what I'm most enthusiastic about is the idea of being able to find solutions at the Robinson that then we can bring to our other struggling schools, our other struggling environments that are homegrown and that speak directly to the challenges of students here in Lowell. So I also join with my fellow members in supporting this move, and I think that the budget process will be where we need to make the other critically important decision of the remaining or the current assistant principalship at the Daly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh?
Thank you. I will definitely support this. I guess I have a question. Is this going to be starting now, or is this next fall?
Next fall.
I'd have to tell you, I mean, I'm not so sure when Mr. Murphy's moving over. My advice is I would almost want to see them get over there now. I mean, now's the time before the school closed to get a chance to see what's going on, so they have time over the summer to plan for next year's, what they need to do next year. I mean, it might be a nice way to transition. I mean, I'm not against it, because I know we're getting near the end of the year by the time you go through the process, but it would get someone that much quicker on board to work with Mr. Murphy to get over there and start looking at it and develop some type of formal plan, because when September comes, there's not going to be any time to sit around and wait. They're going to have a plan in place and go. And I think that's where we're at with the school. And I think we need to move on it. So I just want to throw it as an idea. I'm definitely supportive of this, and we have to give them every opportunity to succeed over there, and that's why I think this position is critical for that. And I would like to see sometime in the fall a follow-up report of his assessment of the building. Is there anything else he needs? I mean, for critical needs to address, because I'm sure if there's discipline problems, that's one thing we got to handle, but we want this person working on curriculum issues and working with teachers and staff and being in there to make sure that things are being done the way they need to be done, so we can show that improvement and not being bogged down with some of the everyday things that could be handled by somebody else.
Mr. Rorak. This particular year, Mr. McHugh, we had an apprentice in that particular position, Mr. Negron, so he'll be ending that, filling in for that position by the end of this school year. So that's why we're recommending a full-time position as an assistant principal be added to the school for next year.
Okay, I just wanted to put that as an idea. I think just to, if there was some type of transition period, they'd have a chance to walk around and see what's really happening before they, the school year ends, to get their eyes on, okay, we've seen it, now let's sit down and plan over the summer, so next fall we be. So I just put that as an option possible. So, thank you.
Mr. Leahy. Thank you. Mr. Rurak, Mr. McHugh raises a good question. Does Mr. Murphy have the chance to go over there then, before the end of the year, to assess the school, or how does that work?
He certainly has an opportunity to discuss what's going on at the Robinson School with Ms. Bond and Ms. Chernus, but Mr. Murphy's full-time commitment is really at the Stocklosa School for the time being. So certainly at Leadership Academy or level meetings that we have with principals, I know Mr. Murphy does devote a lot of time beyond the norm of the school day to talk with Ms. Bond what's going on. So the transition, I think, is pretty positive in the sense that there is open lines of communication, but to physically spend a week or two would not be what we would recommend at this time for Mr. Murphy.
Well, not a week or two, but will he be afforded maybe a day, a few days, maybe 5 days from now until the end of the year? I think that was a good point, that he could use the time just to observe, not to,
I'm sure we can make accommodations for Mr. Murphy.
I think that would help. That would be a big part of his transition. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Leary. To belate this up, just a quick question to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Do you know offhand how many assistant principal positions are going to be opened at the end of this year? Is that probably I'm blindsiding you here, and I probably should ask you offline. But do you know how many are going to be open?
Well, currently, we have one at the McAvenue. As you know, Kelly Cleff was appointed principal, so that left her position open, and we are currently reviewing the applications for that. And then if this position is approved, then certainly there will be another one for the Robinson School, and there is a vacancy anticipated for next year at the Daily, at the assistant, because Jane Mulchan will be retiring at the end of the school year.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the authorization?
Motion to approve.
By Ms. Faticante, seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call, please.
Ms. Doherty. Ms. Faticante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Okay, the next item is the school committee meeting schedule for the remainder of 2006 and also for calendar year 2007.
Move for approval.
Motion to approve by Mr. Leahy, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The schedule is approved. We do have several items under convention and conference requests. Motion to approve by Mr. Leahy, seconded by Ms. Faticante.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Doherty. Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
There is one communication, a thank you note from the family of John Hannigan Jr., who was tragically killed a few weeks back. Motion to approve and place the communication on file by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That matter is approved. And we do have a request from the United Teachers of Lowell to donate sick days to the following teachers: Donna Campbell, the Rogers Middle School, and Bill Johnston of the Rogers Middle School.
Move approval, Your Honor.
Motion to approve by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call, please.
Ms. Doherty. Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Okay. Motion to
Motion
adjourn
to adjourn, Your Honor.
by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.